The 148th running of the Preakness Stakes is days away. We're live at this evening's draw with who will challenge the Kentucky Derby winner. Outrage over a controversial budget plan in Harford County.
A nice way to describe it would be a train wreck right now.
The major cuts to law enforcement that have many pushing back. 3 teens shot, 1 killed over the weekend.
Somebody need to do something.
The calls for change as violence continues to surround Baltimore's youth.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
Then the mother came and knocked on the door and was like, I need help. Can somebody help me? Call the ambulance because my daughter was just shot.
A woman describes the frightening moments her neighbor's 14-year-old daughter was shot inside a home in Baltimore. The teen, one of 3 teens to be shot across the city just this weekend. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. This violence is once again reigniting calls for more to be done to address youth crime in Baltimore.
Alexa Ashwell live outside police headquarters with what we know about these investigations from over the weekend. Alexa?
Yes, Kai, Mary, we have 3 teens shot in separate shootings, one of them fatally, and all on Mother's Day.
I just heard the gunshot real loud, and then it sounded like somebody hit the floor. Then I heard all the kids start yelling and stuff.
Zaida Warren describes the chaotic moments after she heard a gunshot come from her upstairs neighbor's apartment here in Druid Heights.
And the mother came and knocked on the door and was like, I need help. Can somebody help me? Call the ambulance because my daughter was just shot.
Warren says she called 911. The 14-year-old girl, she says, had been shot in her side.
In her side. They said it was in her side. They said that her and her friend was in there playing with the gun or something, and the gun went off and shot her in the side.
Police say officers took a juvenile into custody. The 14-year-old, one of 3 teens to be shot in Baltimore on Mother's Day. Less than a mile up the road, police say a 16-year-old was shot on Waddy Court. Then an 18-year-old was shot and killed on Bartlett Avenue in East Baltimore. No word on a suspect or motive in either case. So far this year, there have been 10 juvenile homicides and another 34 young people who have been shot and survived.
It's sad because it's so easy for these kids to get guns these days. There's more kids killing kids.
During a crime stat hearing inside City Hall, Baltimore Police Deputy Commissioner Richard Worley acknowledging the teen gun crisis.
Unfortunately, a lot of young people are ending up with guns in their hands. Like
the 17-year-old, police say was armed with a gun before being shot by police last Thursday. According to BPD data, juvenile homicides are up 67%, while non-fatal shootings are up 55% for the year. Worley blaming part of the problem on ghost guns.
Those are just order the gun online, find a couple tools and put the gun together. You got a fully operational.
I just want to take my kids away from here.
In the case of the 14-year-old, Warren says she believes more must be done to get guns out of the hands of children and more resources available to them.
They don't have no rec centers no more. There's no programs. They don't have nothing to do. Kids sitting around, that woman could have lost her child.
Police have not yet identified the 18-year-old who was shot and killed. Anyone with any information on that case or any of those cases is asked to call Baltimore Police. Reporting live outside police headquarters, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, this fall, Mayor Scott says his administration will roll out a crime reduction program across a number of schools. The mayor is also pouring millions into redeveloping recreational centers, playgrounds, public pools, and other facilities he says will help steer young people away from crime and violence. And ahead of the Memorial Day weekend, Baltimore is bringing a curfew back for young people. Children under the age of 14 must be inside by 9. Those between 14 and 16 must be inside by 10 on school nights and 11 on non-school nights. The mayor has been vague on the details of exactly how this plan will work.
How will it be enforced and when will it go into effect?
We're going to do the enforcement with youth curfew, building off the success that we had with the Squeezy Collaborative, with the same kind of dual approach.
Will a cop be able to go up to a teenager and say, hey, you don't look like you're 18. You're going to have to get off the street. Is that going to be allowed?
That,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But if anyone's thinking that this is just about going out and saying, oh, young person, you can't be there. It is, but it's much more than that. And folks have been trying to simplify it, thinking it, as you said, it's going to be the end-all be-all, and nothing's the end-all be-all.
With the police department down by hundreds of officers, some question how successful the curfew will be.
Do you have enough police officers to be able to, enforce curfew laws when you don't have enough police officers to even investigate homicides?
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think there should be a special legislative session in Annapolis to tackle the juvenile crime crisis? So far, 92% of voters say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab to weigh in.
Well, the budget battle continues in Harford County, and it's not just educators who are speaking out about funding proposed by the Harford County executive. Harford County Sheriff Jeffrey Gaylor is accusing County Executive Bob Casserly of defunding the police. Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us live in studio right now after speaking with the sheriff today in Bel Air. Amy?
Yeah, Kai, so this is a dynamic that's really unusual along party lines. We have a Republican sheriff at odds with the Republican county executive. In the county's 2024 budget proposal, Gaylor says County Executive Bob Casserly removed funding for 2 victim service advocates and put the brakes on plans for a new Central Precinct Training Academy, a $22 million capital project that the sheriff says was already approved 2 years ago by the previous administration.
We have an entire council, and again, a sheriff and a school board and a school superintendent and the state's attorney and the library director. Everybody is saying that this budget is a mess and asking him to come back to the table. He's standing in front of Harford County citizens and saying, I'm going to have to raise taxes. It's a lie.
Well, in a statement this afternoon, the county executive responded to the sheriff's budget concerns, saying his proposal, in part, adds 10 new deputies and gives current deputies and corrections officers a 6.5% salary increase on average. Also adding, quote, the sheriff, after receiving a historic $12 million increase last year, now asking for an unrealistic increase of $28 million. And also adding, quote, the sheriff's spending request would require a tax increase, which I will not do. We must live within our means. So this battle only continues. And coming up at 5 o'clock, why Sheriff Gaylor says his relationship with the county executive cannot be repaired after this budget battle. Mary, Kai, back to you.
Amy, thank you. Well, taking a look now at the Fox Squad Box. 4 people injured after a steam line exploded downtown yesterday. BGE says crews struck an unmarked pipe that led to the incident. Water has been restored to the affected areas.
The Baltimore Police Department will release video tomorrow showing what happened before officers shot and critically injured a teen last week in Baltimore and West Baltimore. The officer involved has been identified as Detective Cedric Ellaby. The department says the teen was pursued after officers suspected he had a weapon. Officers say the teen refused to drop his gun. Overnight, a 37-year-old man was shot and killed in Severn. He's been identified as David Joseph Bond Jr. Police say he was pronounced dead at the scene on Mead Village Road. No word on a suspect. And 2 deadly accidents to tell you about. Late last night, a 55-year-old pedestrian was hit and killed while crossing Perring Parkway in East Baltimore. And in Parkville, a 25-year-old motorcyclist was also killed after crashing into another vehicle. Both incidents remain under investigation.
And now the obvious, I am not running for the United States Senate.
Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski setting the record straight today amid speculation that he would jump into the race for the open U.S. Senate seat.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live. And Mackenzie, the county executive has decided to back someone else.
Yeah, that's right. Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski says that he is throwing his support behind PG County Executive Angela Also Brooks for that open seat in the U.S. Senate. Remember, current Senator Ben Cardin announced that he will retire after serving 16 years in that position. Also Brooks just announcing her candidacy last week, already garnering this support as well as the Congressman Kwesi Nfume's endorsement last week. Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates is backing her as well. Also Brooks served 2 terms as the state's attorney in PG County before becoming the county executive. And Johnny Olszewski says that he was mulling the idea of running for this seat, but says backing Also Brooks was a no-brainer.
Washington needs more local executives in its ranks, people who know how to get things done. people who not only manage multi-billion-dollar budgets, but who have transformed those budgets into new schools, new parks, new infrastructure. Angela is that kind of leader.
At the end of the day, all of our families want the same thing, and that is to live in a place where we are safe and free and where we have a genuine opportunity to expect better tomorrow than we've had today.
All right, we know also Brooks is running. Mackenzie, race getting crowded. Who else is in the running?
Yeah, Mary, there are already a few people who have declared. We know we have also Brooks and that coalition that she's building. But then we also have Congressman David Trone. This is really becoming a two-person race between those two. Trone already flooding the airwaves with his advertisements, trying to get his word out to the potential voters. There are two other candidates who are also declared right now. There's still plenty of time for other people. Several other pretty high-profile names are being discussed as potential candidates in this race, but we know that right now the endorsements seem to be lining up behind also Brooks, at least in the Baltimore area. Time magazine is reporting that there will be a rally held in Baltimore City in the coming days, and Mayor Brandon Scott could potentially endorse also Brooks as well. The mayor's office did not confirm that information with me, so we'll have to wait and see what happens in the coming days. And again, there's a lot of time, but right now this race is starting to heat up already. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
I'm Morgan Atzett, live in Baltimore County at Guinness for the Preakness draw. Find out the field that's going to join Kentucky Derby winner Mage coming up next.
And there are some risks of rain this Preakness week. I'm going to detail when those are hour by hour, day by day. Plus, well, if you're thinking of getting outside and doing some lawn mowing this afternoon, no rain to accompany you here. Temperatures in the 70s and dry. I'm going to let you know how long this lasts coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Why are Baltimore City schools seeing chronic absenteeism? The hearing today at City Hall to get some answers.
And saying goodbye to flavored milk in schools, while the government is weighing a ban on food products, including chocolate and strawberry milk.
The 148th running of the Preakness Stakes is only 5 days away. The middle jewel of the Triple Crown set for this Saturday here in Baltimore at Pimlico Racecourse.
Yeah, and we're only a little more than an hour away from finding out if the confirmed field is going to be what we thought it might be.
Yes.
The challenge, Kentucky Derby winner Mage.
Our Morgan Atzett is live at Guinness in Baltimore County for tonight's draw. Morgan?
Yeah, real rough day, guys, at the office. We're at a brewery, so they say Preakness brings the party. It is here today. It's for the 148th running Preakness Stakes draw. Again, you guys mentioned this is just after 5:30 when we're going to learn the post-position draw, the contenders that will join Mage in the field for the Preakness. Soon we will learn that field. Saturday's post time just before 7 at Old Hilltop, and that's when Kentucky Derby winner Mage will go off as the favorite. Mage arrived at Pimlico yesterday with some track work complete. All is well as Team Mage looks to set up a Triple Crown bid to be the 14th horse to reach racing history. A huge opportunity ahead that Mage's trainers are trying to block out right now.
It's amazing when you look back. But right now I'm just trying to, be present, stay not too high, not too low in the emotions, and we have a big race coming, and just focus on the horse and make him feel as happy as he can be. It's a position where sometimes maybe we wanted to have more space, but it's a Triple Crown, that's the way it's been set up. So, I mean, we have to be very ready if we want to win the race. Whether if they're fresh or not.
He's talking about fresh horses there, meaning new shooters, and I do know that this will be a field of 8. Mage will take on all new contenders, new shooters, no horses that were in the Kentucky Derby, so not horses that were, quote-unquote good enough as far as a resume to qualify for the Kentucky Derby, but horses that are well rested. No horse in this field has run at all in May, and a lot of the races going back to early April. We'll have much more from the draw. Again, it's at 5:30, and we will finalize the post positions and the odds for the 148th running of the Preakness Stakes, but we know Mage, the Kentucky Derby winner, will be the favorite. Reporting live in Baltimore County, I'm Morgan Atzett. Back to you.
All right, Morgan, thank you. And the running of the 148th Preakness Stakes takes place Saturday, May 20th, and we're giving you the chance to go for free. Watch Fox 45 Morning News all week and wait for your cue to call. Each hour from 5 a.m. until 10 a.m., one lucky winner will get all 4 all-day general admission passes, including the Preakness Live concert lineup headlined by Bruno Mars.
Nice. And you can also be featured in the Fox 45 News Preakness Gallery. Make sure to send us a picture or video from Pimlico or during your at-home Preakness celebrations, because there's a lot of those as well. Head to foxbaltimore.com/chime in to send your submissions. You can also just scan that QR code right there on your screen.
Hey, it's baseball night in Baltimore, and you're looking live at Camden Yards as the Birds host the Los Angeles Angels this evening. The Orioles were looking for a sweep in their series against Pittsburgh Pirates, but fell short yesterday 4-0. Orioles still came out victorious, winning 2 of those 3 games.
That's right. It was also a Mother's Day celebration at the ballpark. The Orioles are officially a quarter of the way through the season, 40 games in, and the team is 26-14. Tonight's game starts at 6:35.
It's a long season.
It's a long season. Made easier by weather. Like this,
goodness.
right?
Yes.
To sit in the stands.
Absolutely.
And
right.
yesterday was just spectacular.
Yeah,
Did you have a nice Mother's Day?
Yes, it was lovely.
Yes,
Did Dawn have a nice
Mother's Day? We had a great Mother's Day. We went down to Annapolis, and we actually went to the Chop Tank restaurant out on the Eagle Alley there. It was beautiful weather. It was just packed with people. But today, kind of a carbon copy. We'll take it. We want this through Preakness, right? Yes. And wish Kaya could oblige that. But, there are some silver linings in the forecast as we head towards this weekend. We'll get into that in a second. For now, currently taking a look outside at our beautiful picture of not so beautiful traffic on 695 as we take a look at our traffic camera network, which is fed into our weather computer here. That's 695 right near York Road. I believe that's the inner loop. 76 right now, winds out of the west-southwest at 10 miles an hour. Humidity is dry at 32%. Dew points in the 40s. So this is some beautiful feeling air. 76 now here in Baltimore after a chilly morning with jackets out early. 68 at Annapolis, 74. Stevensville, we're at 73 at Chestertown, and a nice 75 at Westminster. High temperatures thus far on the day up to 76. In, well, not quite the city. This is actually from BWI. At the Inner Harbor, very similar temperatures as well. 71 up Bel Air Way, and temperatures in the 60s near the water. HD radar showing us just how close there's some rain to us. Take a look down into southern western Virginia. Roanoke, Richmond, We've got showers here co-located with a little weather maker that's been, well, it was kind of a cold front, but it's been kind of dissipating, petering out here over portions of the southern and eastern Carolinas and Virginia. Fair weather high pressure is taking over for us. So we're on the drier side of things and just really beautiful weather. Unfortunately, that moisture will eventually feed back northbound, and it looks like it gets here for tomorrow. So not as pretty of a Tuesday as a Monday. Couldn't last forever. But overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, there are your clouds increasing. I think as we head to noontime and beyond tomorrow, temperature is still nice and warm in the mid to upper 70s, but some extra clouds, and there are some of those showers, most of them south of the city on this computer model. But I think we do stand the chance of seeing at least some lighter rain showers from time to time through the PM commute and into the overnight hours, especially through about midnight. Thereafter, dries out. It looks like it's dry to start your Wednesday morning. Then we continue with a nice pattern, at least for a couple more days, dropping down to 70 for a high on Wednesday. Thursday, 68. Black-eyed Susan Day now looking good, 72. Preakness, though. So here's the silver lining. Although it looks like some showers, doesn't look like a mutter type of track here. We should have fairly light showers, and it won't be all the time on Saturday with highs low to mid 70s. About a 30% chance of rain there. Those spot showers stay into Sunday. Early 76 for Monday.
Baltimore City school leaders questioned by City Hall on why students are skipping school. What was said? And after a 3-year pause, federal student loan repayments are expected to resume when borrowers are expected to be notified.
Some people are very much like, I don't want the robot doing the surgery, but I have to remind them it's me who's doing the surgery.
But first, artificial intelligence in healthcare. Hear from a local doctor on the increasing roles robots are playing in hospitals and the future for them.
The following segment is sponsored by GBMC.
Well, trending now, the use of artificial intelligence is becoming more and more common in our daily lives. But what about in medicine? Patrice Sanders speaks with a local doctor on what they're seeing and their prediction for their future.
Artificial intelligence has been making headlines as we see the technology move into more and more areas of our lives. But what about healthcare? The idea of having AI and robots assist in surgeries. It is happening to a degree. Dr. Emily Waters, general and bariatric surgeon at GBMC Healthcare, says there's a misperception that with robotic surgery, the robots are actually doing the surgery, and some patients are actually worried.
You get a mixed bag of responses, right? Some people are very much like, I don't want the robot doing the surgery, but I have to remind them it's me who's doing the surgery. It's just a tool. It's a better tool. Gives me 3D visualization, better accuracy, better precision. I'm able to do a lot bigger surgeries through smaller incisions. So I very much reassure them it's me doing the surgery. The robot's just a tool. It's more like robotic assisted surgery than the robot doing surgery.
Are we headed toward a point where it will be more AI led, or is there a place for that in the healthcare industry?
I think there is. We're not quite there yet. I can't type in gallbladder surgery and then the robot do the surgery without me. Sure. But I think in the future there will be more use of artificial intelligence, especially as we get into oncological surgery and overlying where the tumors are, finding them with artificial intelligence and the robotic system.
She says more surgeons are doing robotic surgery than ever before, and at GBMC, they're adding another robot to the operating room. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
Well, chocolate milk may be coming off the menu in elementary and middle school cafeterias. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is considering a ban on flavored milk, including chocolate, strawberry, and other varieties. It would be part of a new set of standards for school meals aimed at limiting the amount of sugar and salt in meals to reduce childhood obesity. The new rules would be implemented in stages over the next 7 years, but many school districts and dairy industry executives argue milk has nutritional value, and without the flavors, kids will just end up drinking less of it. Student loan borrowers will soon start paying back their loans again as the pandemic-era emergency ends. The Secretary of Education confirms the agency is preparing to restart federal student loan payments. This comes after a 3-year pandemic pause. Loan servicers must notify borrowers of the restarts after August 31st. A current Biden administration plan on student loan forgiveness is being challenged right now in court. A Marine charged in that deadly chokehold on a New York subway is receiving national support. Why the death is now turning political. Chronic absenteeism inside Baltimore City schools, the move from council members to get answers today from school leaders. And Governor Moore expected to sign a gun control bill into law tomorrow, limiting where legal gun owners can carry their guns in public. Europe C. Morgan joins us after the break to talk about this bill and the impact on public safety.
More Baltimore students are apparently skipping school.
In fact, the state considers 58% of current students to be chronically absent. And today, the city council is holding a hearing to understand what exactly is going on.
Rebecca Pryor joins us live with details. Rebecca.
Yeah, Mary and Kai, keeping students in school has become a serious issue, especially in Baltimore City. As you just mentioned, at 58%, well over half of Baltimore City students are being marked chronically absent. The number is the worst in the state and the highest it's been in at least 2 decades. Now, we know back in 2016, state requirements for chronic absenteeism changed. City schools began recording half-day student attendance, which caused a significant increase to the number of students being marked absent. That year, 23% of Baltimore City students were chronically absent, and by 2019, the number had soared to 42%. Education experts telling Fox 45 with these numbers continuing to trend in the wrong direction, now is the time to take action.
We don't address this crisis now. The dropout crisis that we're going to face in a few more years is going to be huge.
And tonight, City Council will be demanding answers from city school officials about what's causing this alarming absence rate. That meeting is scheduled to start within the next 30 minutes. Reporting live outside of City Hall, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Thanks, Rebecca. 3 weeks ago, school leaders were also summoned to City Hall. That hearing came on the heels of a statewide assessment that found 23 city schools where 0 students who were tested were proficient in math. Now, the council discussed summer activities to curb juvenile violence, but when it comes to the poor math scores, the council didn't demand answers or call for change. Fox 45 questioned school CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises after the hearing.
We are within the state of Maryland that had the lowest performance for 4th graders on NAEP.
Do you think that the parents of these kids in these 23 schools care that other students are failing when their students are the ones that are struggling to succeed? What do you say to families who are dealing with this, and especially when you say that you knew this was going to happen?
Well, we knew, Mackenzie, that the math was a challenging area. One of the things that we've said to parents is we have doubled down on tutoring, on after-school opportunities.
Do you take any accountability for these scores?
Absolutely.
In 2021, the council held a similar hearing on ghost students inside city schools. That hearing failed to provide any answers on that issue either.
Ranking employee of Baltimore County Public Schools has sued the school system for wrongful termination, a lawsuit that could impact who will be the school system's next superintendent. Current Superintendent Dr. Darrell Williams is mentioned in the lawsuit, along with Dr. Miriam Yarborough, his deputy superintendent, and one of 4 finalists to replace him. The lawsuit was filed by the school system's former chief human resources officer, who, according to the lawsuit, reported to Dr. Yarborough. It does not specifically state what role, if any, Yarborough had in the employee's alleged wrongful termination. Lily Rowe, a former Baltimore County School Board member, says the current board should hold off on voting, make sure they know everything that happened before deciding who will run America's 24th largest school system.
It's really hard to remove a superintendent, so I would think you would want to deliberate and make sure that you're sure before you hire one.
Tonight at 10, What Else Project Baltimore has learned about this lawsuit and when the school board could vote for the next superintendent.
Am I going to get some completely innocent client that has a permit to carry, that isn't sure what they can possess, and they walk in the wrong place on the wrong day unintentionally, and they end up being prosecuted in court? That's the big concern here.
A big day tomorrow. Governor Moore is set to sign into law a gun control bill that'll affect where legal gun owners can carry their weapons in public. Senate Bill 1, which restricts where guns can be carried, has been called the strongest gun violence prevention legislation in the nation.
Critics say lawmakers are failing to go after those committing crimes and instead targeting law-abiding gun owners. Let's bring in Eurypsy Morgan to continue this conversation. She's the spokesperson for the group Peace. Eurypsy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, come October, it will be illegal to carry guns in some places in Maryland, like schools, polling places, stadiums, even restaurants. Of course, you can't have them in schools now anyway. But why is there still such a pushback against the bill?
Well, I mean, this bill, I think, one of the things that is so upsetting about a bill like this is that we know that the vast majority of crime that is committed, particularly in Baltimore City, where you have people, residents who are fleeing for their lives. We have young people who are constantly in danger on the streets of Baltimore, in their own schools, in their own backyard. And a bill like this, although it's gotten national attention, does absolutely nothing to address the real gun violence in Baltimore City, because we know that that gun violence is committed overwhelmingly by people who are not legal gun owners. And when you're out in the streets, when you're an organization like the one that I represent, who is fighting for the people and wanting to make people safer, a bill like this does absolutely nothing. And it's not only shocking, but it's frightening to know that this is where our legislature is at.
Democratic lawmakers, Europsy, say this bill came because the Supreme Court loosened gun control laws last year, getting rid of the proper cause to carry requirement. Do you in any way see this bill as a rightful response in any aspect?
No, I see this as a knee-jerk response by people who clearly either chose not to understand that New York case or have just refused to be honest about it. That bill, unfortunately, or excuse me, that Supreme Court case, unfortunately, has been horribly misunderstood. It did not give a free-for-all. As a matter of fact, most states in this country were shall-issue states, so that if a person met the proper requirements, this is not a free-for-all. You still have to meet the proper requirements within your state to have a license to carry a gun. Once you meet those requirements, then the state is no longer allowed to arbitrarily decide that you don't get to have that permit, even though you've met the requirements. That's really what changed. But it also continued to keep the same restrictions in place, in which there are 5 locations, schools, places of worship, government offices, polling places, in which the government can still restrict a person's right to carry, and that's fine. But I think the fact that we have so many politicians who are willing to jump on a bandwagon as opposed to be honest with the public about what that case did and did not do is pretty disheartening.
And Europsy, as we see gun violence happening in different parts of the state, whether it's Baltimore or other areas, do you believe lawmakers are doing enough when it comes to addressing crime?
Absolutely and wholeheartedly no. No, that's what's so frustrating about this, is that we have so many lives being lost, particularly in Baltimore City. And when our governor campaigned on being from Baltimore, which we know there are a lot of questions about whether he was or wasn't, but he campaigned on basically Baltimore, and to confuse what's going on around the state and not address the real issue, which is illegal guns pouring into Baltimore City and being used on the streets of Baltimore. It is completely dishonest to not separate what's actually happening and address the root cause of the problem, which we're seeing these illegal guns in Baltimore City, and instead put it back to legal gun owners. Let's at least focus on the real problem so that we can create real solutions.
All right, Europsy Morgan, thank you for joining us and talking with us. Europsy Morgan for the group Peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, happening tomorrow, President Biden is expected to meet with congressional leaders on the debt ceiling limit. This meeting comes as Congress and the president held talks on the debt limit last week. President Biden is scheduled to leave for Japan for a Group of 7 summit on Wednesday, but the president told reporters Sunday he is optimistic that a deal will be reached.
But I really think there's a desire on their part as well as ours to reach agreement. I think we'll be able to do it.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has said the U.S. could default on its debt as soon as June 1st if no deal is reached. A murder trial in New York City turning into somewhat of a political battle.
GOP presidential hopefuls are throwing their support behind the Marine veteran charged with second-degree manslaughter for placing a man in a chokehold on a New York subway.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the full story.
A wave of conservative support for 24-year-old ex-Marine Daniel Penny.
This Marine was trying to save those individuals on that subway.
GOP presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy donating $10,000 to Penny's legal defense fund, tweeting, quote, "We must restore the rule of law in America." Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg bypassing a grand jury, charging Penny with second-degree manslaughter for placing 30-year-old homeless man Jordan Neely in a fatal chokehold in a New York City subway.
Certainly, a reasonable jury would not believe that Daniel Penny intended to kill Jordan Neely. But a jury could believe beyond a reasonable doubt that the actions were not justified and that they were reckless.
Protests erupting around the city. Nearly reportedly on a top 50 list New York City officials keep of homeless people who caused trouble. He was arrested in February for assaulting a 67-year-old, breaking several bones in her face. Eyewitnesses say Neely was yelling and behaving erratically. Penny's lawyers claim he was acting in self-defense, protecting himself and other passengers. The fact Penny was not initially arrested or charged, sparking outcry from some on the left. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez calling the delay in arrest disgusting.
Alvin Bragg and Eric Adams almost certainly collaborated on this decision. It's a political decision, not a criminal justice decision, which is not the way our system is supposed to work, and that's the shame of it.
As of Monday, about 40,000 individuals donated more than $2 million for Penny's defense. Support increasing exponentially following a tweet by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis that read in part, quote, "We stand with good Samaritans like Daniel Penny. Let's show this Marine America's got his back." If convicted, Penny could face up to 15 years behind bars. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
The Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine is no longer available in the United States. The reason why?
Title 42 has ended. So what's next? I'm Christine Frizan with a look at some of the political and logistical challenges already playing out.
And the commute forecast this evening is easy peasy. Lots of sunshine, temperatures in the 70s. Going to need those sunglasses. Open those windows, enjoy, but some rain could be on the way for tomorrow. We're tracking it on the Future Scan hour by hour, plus your full Preakness forecast coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Topping your health headlines right now, the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine is no longer available in the United States. All remaining doses expired last week, according to the CDC. More than 31 million doses of the vaccine were sent out, but only 19 million were used. Last week, the nation ended its public health emergency over COVID-19. Well, tonight, migrants near the southern border are taking refuge in shelters, former schools, hotels, even on the streets. National correspondent Christine Frizzell has the story.
Border Patrol agents say they're not letting their guard down, but appear relieved the number of migrants actually dropped after the expiration of Title 42, relief shared by the White House.
How do you think things are going at the border, sir?
Much better than you all expected.
Top officials point to the implementation of new policies, including the requirement that migrants prove they were first denied asylum in a country they passed through on the way to the United States. The expansion of the number of available appointments for those using the CBP One app, and adding a 5-year ban to those who cross illegally.
Over the past 2 days, the United States Border Patrol has experienced a 50% drop in the number of encounters versus what we were experiencing earlier in the week.
But there's also significant overcrowding at processing centers like this one in El Paso.
Everyone is saying it's not that bad. This is what not that bad looks like.
And in New York, where busloads of migrants continue to arrive, there are reports homeless veterans were relocated as a result.
Around 20 vets who were living there had to be moved to another hotel to make room for the asylum seekers.
Despite the law changing in the United States, the political, economic, and environmental factors driving people out of their countries to make the dangerous journey here have not changed. One reason why President Biden is facing criticism from some fellow Democrats for backtracking on a promise to make it easier for those seeking asylum.
What our families and our country need is to have an updated, orderly process for people to come to America, to stay, to work here, to be with their families.
The American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit against the new policies, calling them cruel and illegal, as border officials navigate new policies contributing to what is, for now, a new normal. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
This water had to have been probably 8 or 9 feet high. All the cars over here were underwater, and this is probably the worst it's been since I've been here.
Really bad weather across the country. Relentless rain pummeled the central U.S. over the weekend. Missouri and Illinois received up to half a foot of rain in a short period of time, trapping drivers in some floodwaters. In Houston and Texas, some communities are more vulnerable to flooding after months of heavy downpours. Remember, 2017, they had a bad situation there.
I was really scared to take my daughter to school, or, you know, if I was going to be able to pick her up. So it's just like the sitting water, and it just accumulates.
Meanwhile, the West Coast is bracing for major heat this week. The National Weather Service says temperatures in some locations could reach up to 20 degrees above average. And after a brutal winter, snowmelt is threatening to push some waterways in the region over the edge.
As the lake's gone up, and it's gone up fairly drastically in the last month or so, a lot of debris. Well,
Yosemite National Park is also facing ongoing closures right now due to that snow melt. Let's take a look at the weather in our region right now. You're looking at live pictures from Baltimore, Towson, and Ocean City. After a perfect Mother's Day weekend, the beautiful weather is sticking around today. Here's Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers.
Man,
really nice out there today.
Nature is incredible, looking at some of that video.
Yeah.
The video here is beautiful, but man, the waterfalls out in Yosemite, and then of course the extreme heat in the Northwest, and then we got the flooding with persistent rains in the Midwest. So we've been lucky around here.
We have.
That's for sure. And temperatures today just absolutely gorgeous once again after a perfect Mother's Day, 76 degrees. Sunshine, clear skies now over Toyota. HD Inner Harbor Skycam shot of Inner Harbor as well. Well, it looks like we now are at the Inner Harbor instead of over at Oriole Park. But nonetheless, we got a game going on at 6:35. We're taking on the LA Angels, and it's going to be fantastic weather for baseball. Winds out of the west-southwest at 10, blowing in some nice, comfortable air. Look at that humidity, nice and low at 32%, and dew points are in the 40s. So that is dry air. Real good feel to things right now with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, some 60s near the water. We've hit high temperatures at 76 in Baltimore, 75 at Westminster, a little bit cooler near the water. Temperatures in the 70s along the eastern shore, 76 at Cumberland. HD radar showing the remnants of that big weather maker down down to the south and west of us. Look at all the lightning here. Even, yep, there we go. There are the flood watches that we're talking about across portions of Missouri, not too far from St. Louis. This is where we saw the several inches of rain. And then we work our way off to the northwest, Pacific Northwest. All these flood watches here, a lot of this is from snow melt, from temperatures that are going to be getting up into the 80s, places like Portland, all the way up to Seattle the next several days. Nice weather for us. High pressure, fair weather is our fair weather friend. And that means that we've got, again, a weather maker that's pretty ho-hum. It's going to keep those temperatures in the mid-70s remainder of the afternoon. Going to keep us nice and comfortable tonight, although clouds will increase. And then that next system, it's not going to be nearly as moisture-loaded by the time it gets here as it has been around, say, St. Louis and the Mississippi Valley. But we are going to be seeing the potential of some showers developing during the second half of tomorrow. Then we look ahead to Preakness. So future scan overnight through 10:30 p.m., 12:45 a.m., mainly clear, temperatures 50s to around 60. Overnight into early tomorrow morning, the clouds increase. Could see, again, a spot shower or two for tomorrow afternoon. This computer model keeps a lot of them south of Baltimore. Doesn't look extremely heavy, but you could have a couple of spatters around as we head into the afternoon. Still going to have highs likely in the mid to upper 70s. This will last through shortly after midnight tomorrow night and then move out of here into early Wednesday. Sunshine returning with somewhat cooler temperatures into the middle of the week, down to 70 on Wednesday. Oh, that's not Mother's Day there. I got an incorrect graphic there on Thursday, 68. And then sunshine goes to 72 on Friday. We'll be at 75 on Saturday. For Preakness, could see a couple of spot showers for Sunday. Some spotty showers as well. But again, anything here Saturday and Sunday looks fairly light at this point. Shouldn't be a mutter type of track, but it is something we'll watch drying out for next Monday.
Jonathan, thank you. Coming up at 5 o'clock on Fox 45 is the Harford County executive trying to defund the police. The latest on the growing controversy surrounding his budget. And playing golf for a cause. Next, the big milestone for a local group using sports to change lives. It's a big milestone for the Boomy Charity Golf Classic. They're celebrating 37 years of creating change for families. Fox 45's Justin Chambers has more from Hunt Valley.
At Hunt Valley Country Club on this gorgeous Monday for the 37th annual Boomy Shriners Charity Golf Classic. We're here with Raul Frevel. And Raul, talk about how great this organization is and how we do this all for the kids.
Well, first, Justin, I want to thank you and Channel 45 for being out here today. 37 years, people are going to know why we went back down the hill today. And we're all Masons first. I want you to know that too, as Shriners. And in doing that, 150 years, we started our fraternity, but we've had 100 years now of taking care of children. And as Mark Hart said earlier, over 1.5 million children have been helped.
And that's the great thing about this that you talk about, Raul. The money raised today is for patient transport. So you guys have about 7 vans around the state, but you take them up to the Shriners Hospital up in Philadelphia, and you do all the work.
Kids have been sent home from the hospital with run out of insurance, went up to Philadelphia. And one day this child walked out of the door and said, "Mommy, look at me walk for the first time."
That's an amazing story.
Powerful.
And you guys have stories like this all the time with Shriners Hospital.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, it's all about the golf, too. Yep. So obviously having a good time. Raul, thanks so much, of course, here at Hunt Valley Country Club. A great day for golf and a great day for the kids. I'm meteorologist Justin Chambers.
All right, well, let's take a look ahead to the weekend forecast. And I know we got a quick look here. I know it's several days away still, but the weekend forecast for Black-Eyed Susan Day on Friday, we're at 72. Temperatures in the mid-70s for Preakness on Saturday, and it looks like 77 on Sunday. Now, the rain chances, let's go ahead and plan that out for you on the GFS Future Scan computer model. This is our American computer model, what we basically use to make the extended forecast. And you see here Friday, good-looking day with those temperatures in the 70s. Now, again, this is the one to watch on Saturday. The timing. Notice the rain. It's kind of a steadier rain in the morning. During the afternoon, it may dry out, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. That's how the timing stays. Yesterday, it looked like the rain was more so in the afternoon. By Sunday, it looks like most of the rain pulls out early, and it dries out during the day.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, multiple teens shot on Mother's Day. We hear from one neighbor who tried to help a 14-year-old who was injured. And Governor Wes Moore is set to sign a new gun control bill that challenges the policy restricting legal gun owners could face after becoming law. Children are the victims of violence in Baltimore on Mother's Day. What we're learning about a 14-year-old who was shot.
And a bill restricting gun owners is about to become law, looking ahead to a key bill signing tomorrow.
First, it was educators. Now it's police speaking out against the Harford County budget proposal, the latest on accusations against County Executive Bob Casserly.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We're continuing coverage on a city in crisis tonight. Multiple young people are shot over the weekend in Baltimore. In one of those shootings, another juvenile is in custody.
It continues a disturbing youth violence spike in the city this year. Juvenile homicides up 67%, while non-fatal shootings are up 55%. Good evening. I'm Mackenzie Frost in for Mary Bubala this hour.
And I'm Kai Jackson. As we continue to press leaders for solutions to the youth crime crisis, we're learning more about a 14-year-old girl who was shot this weekend.
Alexa Ashwell joins us live now with the latest. Alexa, what can you tell us?
Yes, Kai, Mackenzie. So we have 3 teens who were shot in separate shootings on Mother's Day. The youngest victim, just 14 years old. We spoke with a neighbor who described hearing that gunshot. Take a listen.
The mother came and knocked on the door and was like, I need help. Can somebody help me? Call the ambulance because my daughter was just shot in her side. They said it was in her side. They said that her and her friend was in there playing with the gun or something, and the gun went off and shot her in the side.
Okay, as you mentioned, police say officers took a juvenile into custody in that case. The 14-year-old, one of 3 teens shot across Baltimore on Mother's Day. Less than a mile away from that scene, police say a 16-year-old was shot on Waddy Court. Then an 18-year-old was shot and killed on Bartlett Avenue in East Baltimore. No word on a suspect or motive in either of those cases. So far this year, there have been 10 juvenile homicides and another 34 young people have been shot and survived.
It's sad because, like, it's so easy for these kids to get guns these days. Like, it's more kids killing kids.
Now, during a crime stat hearing inside City Hall, BPD acknowledged the teen gun crisis and blamed it in part on ghost guns. Police have not identified the 18-year-old who was shot and killed. Again, no arrests have been made in that case. Reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Alexa. On Friday, Baltimore police say 17-year-old Mackay was shot by a city police officer. Tonight, we have new information about that shooting. Baltimore police identified the detective as Cedric Ellaby as the one who shot him. Officers say that police approached Mackay because they believed he was armed. Police say he ran and pulled out a gun. Investigators say Officer Ellaby fired after the teen refused to drop the weapon. The teen was taken to the hospital and is now in critical condition. He's described as he was in critical condition. He's now described as in stable condition. Detective Ellaby has been placed on administrative duty. Body camera footage of the shooting will be released tomorrow.
Part of Mayor Brandon Scott's effort to curb juvenile violence is a youth curfew starting Memorial Day weekend. The mayor has been tight-lipped about how the curfew will be enforced. While the mayor says he's confident the curfew, in conjunction with other policies that will help slow youth violence, Fox 45 News has heard from a few law enforcement experts who say they don't think the curfew will solve the problem.
Like gun-free zones. Who reads the gun-free zone signs and says, I'll put my legal gun away? Legal gun owners. So people who are likely to commit crimes are not likely to pay attention to curfews.
But I don't expect it to have much of an impact at all. In fact, it could have a negative impact.
It's not the solution. It's a tool in the toolbox.
Now, the mayor is also pouring millions into redeveloping recreational centers, playgrounds, and public pools, as well as other facilities he says will help steer young people away from crime and violence. Now, this brings us to our question of the day. Do you think there should be a special legislative session in Annapolis to tackle the juvenile crime crisis? So far, 93% of voters say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote. Click on the Pulse tab to weigh in.
It's not just juvenile crime that's plaguing the city right now. Police are investigating a deadly stabbing this hour. Just after 1 o'clock this afternoon, police responded to Ruxin Avenue in West Baltimore. A 29-year-old man and 28-year-old woman were stabbed. Now, the man died at the hospital, we're told, while the woman is expected to survive. Investigators say the man had been arguing with another person who pulled out a knife and attacked both victims Anyone with information should contact city police. According to Baltimore police, 100 people have been killed in the city this year. That's compared to 124 this time last year. There have been 220 non-fatal shootings. Last year at this time, there were 250 people who'd been shot and survived.
Governor Wes Moore is set to sign Senate Bill 1 into law tomorrow afternoon. The bill seeks to limit where legal concealed carry weapon permit holders can bring those weapons in public. Lawmakers focusing much of session on the plan, but there are some serious concerns about the constitutionality of the plan moving forward. From the start of session, lawmakers clear about their goals when it comes to Senate Bill 1.
So we're going to push to the constitutional limit to ensure that Marylanders are safe.
Senator Will Smith, chair of the Judicial Proceedings Committee, talking about the new concealed carry landscape in America following the Bruin U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Some Democrats argue limiting where legal wear and carry permit holders can bring their guns in public will create a safer community.
Do we want to live in one where we think that violence is solved by more guns, or do we want to live in a society where we believe that people should have the opportunity to maximize their potential and not need a gun to feel safe?
Opponents see it as an assault on the Second Amendment.
It's an illegal bill.
The constitutional question remaining a concern through all of session. After some negotiations, legislators sending the plan to Governor Wes Moore's desk. Moore,
I think people who claim that there's a constitutional challenge, they can claim it. But you know who doesn't think there's a constitutional challenge? Our state's lawyer, the Attorney General.
Clear on his plan.
I will sign it, yes.
Despite this last-ditch effort from the House GOP sending Moore a veto request Friday, the plan moving forward. But it's not just Republicans who refuse to get on board.
We're doing things kind of backwards.
Baltimore City Democratic Senator Corey McCray voting no on the plan.
And I do think that it has constitutional issues.
That concern could mean litigation for the state moving forward. Baltimore area attorney Jeremy Eldridge argues the broad language carving out where legal gun owners can bring their weapons could cause confusion.
Am I going to get some completely innocent client that has a permit to carry, that isn't sure where they can possess, and they walk in the wrong place on the wrong day unintentionally, and they end up being prosecuted in court? That's the big concern here.
While lawmakers crafting policy limiting where weapons are in public, legislation targeting juvenile crime or repeat violent offenders not addressed, while communities in places like Baltimore continue to be gripped by a crime crisis. Over the weekend, a 14-year-old girl shot and another juvenile arrested. Baltimore police telling City Council last week 53 young people have been arrested and charged as adults so far this year. Governor Moore recognizing the issue facing Maryland.
We've got to be able to focus on getting these guns off of our streets, these illegal guns off our streets.
How to do that, or where to begin, seems to be where the divide remains. Now, back in April, we asked City State's Attorney Ivan Bates about that bill. Bates says the bill could create problems when it's first implemented due to a lack of education, warning people who are trying their best to follow the law could still end up accidentally breaking it.
So I think there will be some confusion with the law. I think we have to make sure that if we decide not to prosecute, individuals who purchase their weapons legally, that there's an educational component. So you'll see a lot of what I think is common sense, making sure that we don't harm legal gun owners, but to make sure that they understand that they also have to follow the laws and the rules.
Baltimore City Sheriff also weighing in on the issue that night, saying while the bigger threat to the public is the use of illegal firearms, his office will be committed to making sure legal gun owners are following the law on where they can carry.
Counties under pressure. The budget battle continues in Harford County, and it's not just educators who are speaking out about funding proposed by the county executive. Harford County Sheriff Jeffrey Gaylor is accusing County Executive Bob Casserly of defunding the police.
In Annapolis, as a state senator, Bob Casserly was our greatest advocate, and I recognized that and gave him the accolades he was due. But in this job, and he's in control of the budget and the purse strings for the county, that has turned 180 degrees.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson spoke with the sheriff today in Bel Air about his concerns.
It's a dynamic that's unusual along party lines. A Republican sheriff at odds with a Republican county executive. But that's the reality right now in Harford County. for Sheriff Jeff Gaylor.
In 9 years of doing this as sheriff,
The budget process and advocating for his agency is no new task. But this year, he says, has been different.
it's an unacceptable budget. A nice way to describe it would be a train wreck right now.
In the 2024 budget proposal, Gaylor says County Executive Bob Casserly removed funding for 2 victim service advocates, a $350,000 line item in the sheriff's office budget.
That's taking money that existed and zeroing it. That is defunding the police, period.
But the sheriff says Casserly also put the brakes on plans for a new Central Precinct Training Academy, a $22 million capital project Gaylor says was already approved 2 years ago by the previous administration.
And now the county executive is not moving forward and has changed his stories countless times on what he's doing, why it's on hold, why he's not moving forward. Every time he opens his mouth, there's a different description of why he's not moving forward.
On Fox 45 Morning News today, the county executive defended his budget proposal.
Everybody's got to live within their means, and I've introduced a fiscally conservative budget that doesn't raise taxes.
And in a statement this afternoon, the county executive's office responding to the sheriff's budget concerns, saying as a state senator, he was the lead voice in Annapolis backing the blue, pointing to his proposal, which would add 10 new deputies and a salary increase next year. The sheriff, after receiving a historic $12 million increase last year, is now asking for an unrealistic increase of $28 million. Casserly said in part, the sheriff's spending request would require a tax increase, which I will not do. We must live within our means.
He's standing in front of Harford County citizens and saying, I'm going to have to raise taxes. It's a lie.
Today, Fox 45 asked the sheriff if his relationship with the county executive can be repaired after this budget battle is over.
You can't redeem yourself from being dishonest. It might work in Annapolis, but bringing Annapolis here to the county executive's office is like bringing Baltimore crime problems to Harford County. It doesn't work here.
And the Harford County Council must approve a final budget by June 15th. That's exactly 1 month from today. In Bel Air, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
More clarity on the race for Maryland's open U.S. Senate seat, the key endorsement today for one of the top candidates.
More than half of city school students are chronically absent. Fox 45 News is at a city hall meeting tonight, pressing leaders for answers.
We're less than a half hour away from learning the starting positions for the Preakness Stakes, the latest from tonight's draw party as we kick off race week.
And a beautiful evening for baseball. 6:35, we take on the LA Angels here at home at Camden Yards, and temperatures falling through the 70s into 60s. Actually, kind of California-type weather around here, but there's going to be rain on the way. I'm going to let you know when it gets here and if it impacts your Preakness plans. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Hey, the second leg of the Triple Crown is galloping toward Baltimore, and Mage will be looking for another big victory.
Yeah, having roared his way to a win at the Kentucky Derby earlier this month, Mage is the favorite to do it all again here in Baltimore. Our Morgan Etzit is live at Guinness in Baltimore County for this evening's draw. Morgan, what's going on?
Hey guys, we're about, 20 minutes away or so from 5:30. That is when the Preakness draw will be happening, about 15 minutes or so. This is the first time ever it is completely open to the public. We're at Guinness in Baltimore County, so this should be a crowd going to slowly make its way here. A lot of people are upstairs getting those drinks, so it's understandable. Soon we will know Kentucky Derby winner Mage will come out as the favorite. We know that, and Mage has arrived at Pimlico. That was yesterday morning with some track work already complete. So far, so good. All is well as Team Mage looks to set up for a Triple Crown bid to be the 14th horse to reach racing history. A huge opportunity that is ahead, but Mage's trainers are trying to block out all the noise right now.
It's amazing when you look back, but right now I'm just trying to, be present, stay not too high, not too low in the emotions, and we have a big race coming, and just focus on the horse and make him feel as happy as he can be. It's a position where sometimes maybe we wanted to have more space, but it's a Triple Crown. That's the way it's been set up. So, I mean, we have to be very ready if we want to win the race. If they're fresh or not.
The fresh now comment is talking about the field. Mage, of course, Kentucky Derby winner. There's going to be 8 horses in this field. We know that. They'll all be confirmed here at 5:30 for the post position draw. But Mage is the only Derby horse. So all new shooters, those 7 other horses not yet qualified to race at something like Kentucky Derby, but they are fresh horses that have had no races in May. And obviously Mage just coming off 2 weeks rest when Saturday rolls around. Again, the draw here at 5:30 behind me at Preakness, at Guinness, in Baltimore County. And this will be the first time is open to the public. So we already know the horses. There's going to be 8. They'll list them all up, and they will do the odds makers with the handicappers, and then they will roll those dice for the post position to see where each horse will be coming out of the gate come Saturday. Reporting live in Baltimore County, I'm Morgan Etzit. Back to you.
Morgan, thanks. The running of the 148th Preakness Stakes is this upcoming Saturday, and we're giving you the chance to go for free. All you have to do is watch Fox 45 Morning News every day this week. We're asking viewers to call into our show for a chance to win each hour from 5 to 10 a.m. One lucky winner will get 4 all-day general admission passes to Preakness Stakes, including the Preakness live concert lineup, and it's headlined by Bruno Mars.
Let's take a look outside right now. Some beautiful warm weather, sunny day to start the week, kind of continuing from this weekend. Mackenzie and Jonathan, the question everyone is asking, will it hold up for the Preakness Stakes this weekend?
That is the question. I don't know. Jonathan has the answer.
Yeah, I got it. And today, as Bruno Mars would say, 24-karat magic in here. I mean, woo!
It's nice.
Beautiful,
it is
right?
nice. I do like that one. That was good.
Pretty good.
That was good.
I didn't know you had it in you,
That's
Jonathan.
good,
Maybe 42, but I still got a little some
You got
coolness
something.
in there. All right.
You got something.
77 right now, sunshine. Unfortunately, as we head toward Saturday, yes, Preakness, the weather may not be so golden around here. There will be some shower chance, so we'll get into that in a second. Toyota Ishida Harbor Skycam, sunshine, gorgeous weather continues after a gorgeous Mother's Day as well. How many times can I say gorgeous, right? Winds out of the west-southwest at 11 miles an hour, humidity 32%, dew points, the measure of moisture in the air nice and low, so great for a walk or a run all around the Inner Harbor or all around town. 77 here in Baltimore right now. We're in the low 70s at Annapolis, 75 at Stevensville, 75 at Chestertown. Mid to upper 70s, just a few steps away from the water. High temperatures today making it to 77 in Baltimore with that ample sunshine. 72 at Chestertown and all the way down to Cambridge. 67 at North Beach and 71 in La Plata. HD radar shows some rain south of Richmond all the way south and west toward Charlotte, Nashville. There's been some flooding even right around St. Louis, Missouri, and then get way west. We could be talking record heat. Places like Seattle threatening 90 degrees. That's right, 90 degrees. We haven't even had our first 90, and they're talking about 90 in the Pacific Northwest. So the weather pattern all kinds of upside down here across the country. But for now, our weather is actually pretty typical for this time of year. Nice, fair weather, high pressure, and good control. So that's our latest weather maker. Dry weather kind of noses into the Carolinas, and showers start, and they go all the way back to St. Louis, north of Atlanta, where they do not need more rain. That that rain is going to head our way eventually. Take a look at the future scan through about 10:30, 12:45 tonight. That's when our clouds begin approaching from the south and west. By late tonight, there will be some clouds into tomorrow morning. Not as pretty of a day for our Tuesday. With extra clouds, we're going to go with highs in the mid to upper 70s again. But you see those showers. Ooh, they are so close. By about 8 p.m. on Tuesday, during that p.m. commute into the early evening hours, there could be a couple of showers here and there. Doesn't look like anything extremely heavy. And then beyond that, sunshine comes back just in time for Wednesday. Cooler temperatures, cooler weather for the middle of the week with a 70 on Wednesday, 68 Thursday with sunshine, lows in the 40s, 72 Black-Eyed Susan Day on Friday. We've got Preakness being run here Saturday. Post time, I believe, at 6:50 p.m. and 75 degrees. We're thinking, at least the current thinking is it's several days away, that these showers will be more so during the first half of the day, so hopefully it won't be a muddy track, but it is something we're going to watch. Spot showers hang on into early Sunday before drying out early next week.
How the debate over debt could impact your finances. A taxpayer advocate warning the country could be in trouble as we approach the debt limit deadline. Plus, critical new findings into the FBI investigation into former President Donald Trump and alleged Russian election interference. A frightening assault at a Democratic congressman's district office in Fairfax, Virginia. Representative Jerry Connolly says in a tweet that a man with a metal baseball bat entered his office, attacking two of his staffers, hitting one on the head and the other in her side. They were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police arresting the alleged attacker. Connolly was away from the office at the time of that incident. The special prosecutor probing the FBI's investigation into alleged ties between Russia and Donald Trump's 2016 campaign issues his final report with sharp criticism of the Bureau, but no new charges. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman has more from Capitol Hill.
It took 4 years, but the special prosecutor overseeing that probe into possible ties between Donald Trump's 2016 campaign and Russia is over and concluded that the FBI never should have launched a full Trump-Russia probe. Special counsel John Durham in a roughly 300-page report noting a series of missteps by the FBI and the Justice Department, saying that investigators relied on what was known as the Steele dossier and what Durham described as raw, unanalyzed, and uncorroborated intelligence, and that investigators had confirmation bias. In other words, Durham is declaring that investigators repeatedly ignored or rationalized away evidence that didn't support the Trump-Russia conspiracy, and that some agents who were Trump critics uncharacteristically sped up the investigation, calling it a, quote, noticeable departure from how it approached prior matters involving Hillary Clinton. Former President Trump reacting Monday afternoon, posting on Truth Social, the American public was scammed just as it is being scammed right now by those who don't want to see greatness for America. However, many people do say the FBI absolutely had ample reasons to at least investigate Trump. Meanwhile, reaction now from the FBI saying over the last few years, they've put a lot of corrective actions into use, but if those reforms had been in place in 2016, much of what took place with this Russia probe could have been prevented. Lastly, and important to remember here, there were convictions of a half dozen Trump associates, and that Russia did intervene on the campaign's behalf, and that Trump's team may have even welcomed it, but it was found that they did not conspire with Russia. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Even without a default, the country could suffer the impact the prolonged debt debate could have on your finances. Angela Alsobrooks picking up another key endorsement, talking with a political analyst about the latest in the race for U.S. Senate. An alarming number of Baltimore students are chronically absent, the concerns being voiced during a city council meeting that's happening right now. More and more Baltimore students are skipping school.
That's right. In fact, the state considers 58% of current students to be chronically absent. This is a live look right now at tonight's City Council meeting, where Council President Nick Mosby is introducing a bill to invite city schools to take part in a hearing on the issue. Now, the city's absentee rate is the worst in the state and the highest it's been in at least 2 decades. Education experts tell Fox 45 News, with these numbers continuing to trend in the wrong direction, now is the time to take action.
We don't address this crisis now. The dropout crisis that we're going to face in a few more years is going to be huge.
3 weeks ago, school leaders were also summoned to City Hall. The hearing came on the heels of a statewide assessment finding 23 city schools had 0 students who were tested proficient in math. The council discussing summer activities to curb juvenile violence, but when it comes to those poor math scores, the council didn't really demand answers or call for change. We questioned school CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises after that hearing.
We are within the state of Maryland that had the lowest performance for 4th graders on NAEP.
Do you think that the parents of these kids in these 23 schools care that other students are failing when their students are the ones that are struggling to succeed? What do you say to families who are dealing with this, and especially when you say that you knew this was going to happen?
Well, we knew, Mackenzie, that the math was a challenging area. One of the things that we've said to parents is we have doubled down on tutoring, on after-school opportunities.
Do you take any accountability for these scores?
Absolutely.
In 2021, the council held a similar hearing on ghost students inside city schools. That hearing failing to provide any answers on that issue either.
A former high-ranking employee of Baltimore County Public Schools has sued the district for wrongful termination, a lawsuit that could impact who will be the school system's next superintendent. Current superintendent Dr. Darrell Williams is mentioned in the lawsuit, along with Dr. Miriam Yarbrough, his deputy superintendent and one of 4 finalists to replace him. The lawsuit was filed by the system's former chief human resources officer, who, according to the lawsuit, reported to Dr. Yarbrough. It does not specifically state what role, if any, Yarbrough had in the employee's alleged wrongful termination. Lily Rowe, a former Baltimore County School Board member, says the current board should hold off on voting and make sure they know everything that happened before deciding who's going to run the system.
It's really hard to remove a superintendent, so I would think you would want to deliberate and make sure that you're sure before you hire one.
Well, tonight on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, what else Project Baltimore has learned about the lawsuit and when the school board could vote for the next superintendent.
New developments in the race for Maryland's soon-to-be vacant U.S. Senate seat. Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks getting another key endorsement. Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski officially endorsing Alsobrooks this morning. Last week, Fox 45 News reported Olszewski was considering a run himself. Now it's clear he will not try to win the seat, instead throwing his support behind Alsobrooks during a news conference held earlier this morning.
I have found her to be hardworking, laser focused on progress, and always grounded in the communities she serves. She has a passion not just for the work, but for the people she's helping. And she leads with her values.
As an executive, it has given me also the opportunity to understand and to know the people that I represent, which I think is very important. Not only to have a senator who fights for you, to ensure that your family has the opportunity to experience the American dream, but to have a senator who truly understands you and shares your concerns, I believe is extremely important.
Olszewski's endorsement is the latest in a string of prominent political figures backing Alsobrooks. Last week, Congressman Kweisi Mfume and Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates announced their support. Olszewski's comments today echo a statement from Congressman Mfume last week, who said he believes Alsobrooks has a track record and deeply cares for the people she represents.
Other Democrats vying for the seat include Maryland Representative David Trone and Montgomery County Councilmember Will Jawando. Jerome Siegel also announcing he's running as a Democrat, but doesn't seem to be actively campaigning. And on the Republican side, perennial candidate Robin Ficker also announcing his run.
Well, tonight we're joined by political analyst John Deedy to break down the latest developments in the Senate race. John, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
This endorsement, John, from Johnny Olszewski, Baltimore County Executive, the latest from many, as we just mentioned, for Angela Alsobrooks. What benefit do you think this support from the leader of the Baltimore County region could bring to Alsobrooks' campaign?
This is a huge endorsement because Baltimore County is a very important voting bloc in elections. And having her endorsement in many ways helps Johnny Olszewski more. If Dutch Ruppersberger decides to step down, Johnny would probably choose to run for the House seat. That would help him with a lot of communities in the Baltimore County region. So I see this as really a win-win for both of them. And I think that his resource base and his base of supporters could really vote for both candidates in a primary and a general.
Interesting, John. John, last week, County Executive Olszewski said that he was considering a run himself. What do you think made him decide against it? Was it a money issue? Do you think some people came to him quietly and said, why don't you back her? And then she'll in turn probably back you for that scenario you just outlined for us?
I think what really made him decide in an odd way was David Trone. David Trone's going in this race with a boatload of money. And the problem is Johnny Olszewski, if he ran, was not going to take a single vote away from Angela Alsobrooks. So now it becomes more difficult to win. He may have been able to raise some money, but I don't think he would have gotten enough bang for the buck. And, you know, if you run for a race like this and lose, sometimes it can be difficult to come back from something like that.
Now, John, while Alsobrooks seems to be getting a lot of support from the politicians across Maryland, as you mentioned, we know that Congressman Trone also has a lot of money in the race. There are two other candidates right now, but do you think there's even room in this race for potentially even more candidates to jump in? We know other people are thinking about it. We hear the name Congressman Jamie Raskin is being floated as looking at this. Is there room for him in this conversation?
I don't see Jamie Raskin getting this thing. The problem is everyone who's thinking about doing it. That thinking's a nice thing, but thinking and action are two different things, and it's getting late early. And what I mean by it is this. Angela Alsobrooks is getting a hell of a lot of momentum right now. And where is the lane for some of these other possible candidates? John Sarbanes, no shot in hell. Raskin would get a lot of supporters from progressives, but he may take away votes from Trone. The thing is, when you're running a primary, you have a lane of voters you're looking for, and they're not going to be able to chop into Alsobrooks' lane. And her lane includes PG County. It's going to include Baltimore City and Baltimore County with their supporters, and Charles County. And I just don't see a possibility of Raskin making this a successful race. If the Democrats take the House next year, he would be chairman of oversight. And that in many ways is a lot more power than being a United States Senator.
Interesting. John, before you go, can Mackenzie and I ask you one favor?
Sure.
Please don't ever stop being you. You are authentic.
Yes.
And that's why we love you.
Not at all. Matter of fact, I'll give you a Deedyism right. As far
Give me a
as
Deedyism.
Trone
Come on,
had
John.
Success because of all those momentum.
Yeah.
Basically, the opera ain't over till the fat lady sings, but David Trone right now, I think, can hear some humming.
That's a good one.
Wow.
That is a good one.
John, you never disappoint. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, President Joe Biden expected to meet with congressional leaders tomorrow on the debt ceiling limit. The meeting comes as Congress and the president holding talks on the debt limit last week. Progress on an agreement has been slow despite multiple meetings with Republican leadership. While the president says he is confident that a deal will be reached, House Speaker McCarthy is less optimistic.
But I really think there's a desire on their part as well as ours to reach agreement. I think we'll be able to do it.
It just seems that they want to look like they're in a meeting, but they're not. They're not talking anything serious. And in the meantime, we just watched the CBO come out and say we're $100 billion further in debt. And so, seems more like they want a default than a deal for me.
Well, Democratic Senators Dick Durbin of Illinois and Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts are calling on the president to use the 14th Amendment to raise the debt ceiling. It says the United States debt shall not be questioned. Well, some now saying that means the president has the right to make sure the country's debts are paid regardless of the limit. Well, the president acknowledged using the 14th Amendment may lead to a constitutional crisis and that his top priority is working out a deal with Republicans. Janet Yellen today set a June 1st deadline for lawmakers to reach a solution. Well, as lawmakers scramble for an answer before the default deadline, Fox 45's Megan Gillen talks with a taxpayer advocate about what could come next.
Taking you to Capitol Hill here, where right now talks about raising the U.S.'s debt ceiling remain in stalemate. President Joe Biden and top congressional leaders are expected to meet again tomorrow to negotiate, but the clock is ticking. If the deal is not reached by June 1st, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warning that the U.S. could default on its obligations. David Williams with the Taxpayers Protection Alliance weighing in on what could happen next.
Megan, here's the problem, is that even getting close to the debt ceiling is going to be bad for the economy. We know that if we breach it, and actually we've already breached it, but if we really go into default, interest rates are going to go up, unemployment's going to go up. But even getting close, now in 2011, you may not remember 2011. Unfortunately, I do. And leading up to that default, it was a week, I think it was a week to go. And the stock market lost 20% of its value, and that hurts everybody.
Is this kind of how politics is played? You stick to your guns, you stick to your guns, you stick to your guns, and then at the last minute you negotiate.
Unfortunately, that is what's happening, because this process started in January, and now we have Republicans and Democrats playing chicken with the economy, right? They're trying to score political points. Let's be honest here. They're trying to score political points on both sides. The Republicans are saying we want all these spending cuts, which I happen to agree with. You have to have spending cuts. And the Democrats are saying we're not going to cut anything. Megan, that's just not possible, and the American public are going to suffer by this, and that's why this week, something has to happen this week.
Again, talks are set to resume tomorrow.